Hi there, hey guys. Welcome to my live today. I am here at my craft table instead of at my sewing machine. So I thought I would jump on today and say hello. I am planning to make these lives a regular weekly session around this time because I've tried different times of the week and Saturdays and Sundays they just don't work. I took a poll on Instagram to see what day would be best, and the consensus was Saturday, but it just doesn't work for my schedule. My family is always on the go on the weekends, especially because my husband's home and he likes to be out and about. So I just couldn't get back to the sewing room on time for the weekend lives. So I'm gonna do them on Tuesdays instead. And so far, this is working out really well for me. Um, so this is just a really casual conversation. I'm not selling anything. I'm not sharing anything for any other motive except to chat with all of you. A lot of us are in our sewing rooms for crafting time or just to enjoy something for ourselves. And so you can't really take your whole crafting room out and chat with other people, even though I know that classes and retreats are really great where you can go in a group with people, but most of the time we're on our own in our sewing rooms. So I wanted to jump on, say hello, chat with all of you because no one gets as excited about quilting as another quilter. So I'm going to share just a few things with you today. I don't want this live to go on too long. I know that I'm super chatty sometimes, and my videos have gone on to an hour, some over. I don't want to do that anymore. I want to keep it short and sweet and to the point. So welcome to my sewing room. Don't judge the scene too harshly. I'm still moving things around. If you have read my blog, if you haven't, go check it out. It's linenbouquet.wordpress.com. But I've been sharing little bits and pieces of my sewing room, and the first picture that I showed. Now, my sewing room constantly changes and evolves according to what my family needs and whatever place we're living in. We're renters, so it changes here and there. But my sewing room had gotten to the place where it was completely disorganized, and I had taken furniture in and out of it so often that nothing was in its place. So my first picture showing a disheveled and messy sewing room was embarrassing. It was super embarrassing. And I didn't even want to show it on the internet because it'll be there forever, and some people will see that and think, wow, you're a slob, which it was really sloppy. It was. That's true. But it wasn't always like that. There were times where it was more organized than others. And like I said, I take things in and out of my sewing room according to what the kids need in their spaces or around the house. So this was just like the landing space for anything not used. And at that point, there wasn't much. So I have really dedicated myself to cleaning up this area. And you can see even right now, it's just a whole lot better. There is not a bunch of stuff on the floor and just getting better organized. I still am not at the point where I'm perfecting things and decorating it the way I want it picture perfect or whatever. But I am just about there because I've been building up the bones of the room, the furniture, the organizational items, cubbies and all that, which I will share even more of on the blog. But yesterday the blog post did go up, so go check that out. If you're not following along on my blog, go follow, or you can also a simple way to do this is to download my sewing pattern, Spot of Tea. It's a cute little mug rug sewing pattern. Where is it? I think I have one here. But if you sign up to download that pattern, you will be added to my email list, and I send everything, any announcements over that. And I don't send emails too often because I don't even like to read my emails. It's cluttered with offers and accounts and blogs and companies. So I try not to send out emails very often myself because I don't think anyone has time for that. Going through 20 emails a day that are just ads, it's just annoying. But anyway, go check out my blog, and you can see how my room is evolving, the things that I'm adding, and then hopefully we'll have a big reveal soon. I'm really excited to show you the cute decorative pieces that I'll be adding. Okay, so I have been working on, this is what's currently on my sewing desk. You can see it right here. I have been working on my quilt patterns, the pyramid stack quilt pattern, and it is my first complete quilt pattern that I'm working on. And I've kind of been like leading up to a quilt pattern. If you see my shop, or if you've seen any of the patterns that I've offered, they're mainly like blocks and small makes. This is the first complete quilt pattern, and it is all around. Oh, here's my little spot of tea pattern. You can see it's used daily. So this is the pyramid stack block, and it is an FPP pattern. I love FPP patterns. I think they're amazing and fun because there's not a lot of thinking that goes into it. It's just color by fabric to me, and you follow along the lines. It's super easy, and I feel like I get even straighter edges, cleaner lines, perfect points every time that I use an FPP pattern. So that's kind of why I decided to make this my first quilt pattern, because I want it to be super easy and user friendly and make a complete perfect quilt for any new quilter or sewist. And so this is the block that I've been working on. This is kind of like a little test block that I put together, and you can see this like little licensed print there. It's got princesses on it. I was thinking of making this for my daughter with lots of rainbow colors and florals, and then I put this block together and I was like, oh, I'm not feeling it. So this is probably never going to see the light of day. It's probably going to get tossed and ripped out. But you can see the pattern that I'm working with. It's called pyramid stack. So when there's 4 together, it looks like a pyramid looking down from the sky from that angle. And so I've been working on that, and I haven't shared yet on my Instagram, which is where I share most of my photos, especially like finished project photos. I haven't shared my completed pyramid stack quilt yet, but I have it, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. So this is the first one, my first example of the quilt, and I used the fabrics from Camelot Fabrics to test this out. And while I did edit the block slightly, it's pretty much the same design. What I ended up doing with the finished pattern that is currently at Testers, what I ended up doing is closing this gap here. So you can see there's about an inch gap there, and I closed that, and I brought the points in closer so that the block is even more versatile. So you don't have to have all the blocks meet here at the pyramid center. You can even shift them around and have fun making different designs, which I included in the pattern, because I feel like the more a pattern can do, the more we're going to use it. And with this type of pattern, using it for more than one design is just going to make things a lot easier and fun for anyone that buys the pattern. So this is my pyramid stack. I quilted the whole thing. I bound it with this simple, almost like a navy blue, maybe a royal blue stripe. And I didn't get too fancy. I really wanted the Chateau collection fabrics to shine here, because I am working on this for Camelot Fabrics. But I went really simple with the backing and with the binding here for that reason. Along with these fabrics here, these are not Camelot fabrics. They're just some plain basics that I found at the craft store. But I'm really happy, if you can hear me, I'm really happy with how this turned out. So here is the first complete peek at the quilt. It came out really well, and I have been really like just admiring this quilt. I'm really proud of how quickly it came together too. FPP quilts, there's a lot of pieces, but because you're not really thinking about all the placement of it and worried about everything lining up, you're just kind of sewing on the paper. it just came together so quickly, and I was just zooming at the sewing machine. So here is my little label. I might have shared this on Instagram, but I got these really nice labels on Etsy, and it says handmade by Linen Bouquet, and it looks all vintagey. So I have my label on this, and this is my first, I guess, prototype of the quilt. So that's really fun, and I have been working on another one. Last week, I believe I had shared that I was going to be making a Christmas quilt with the pyramid stack pattern with these beautiful fabrics. Here it is. So with this collection, it's called Cheer and Merriment from Moda, and it is designed by Fancy That Designs, or Design House. Shoot, I can't remember the name. Fancy That. And I had shared that I was going to make my next pyramid stack quilt with these, but I was getting ready to cut into them, and it just didn't seem to really click with me. I felt like I needed a blender in between. I was thinking of making like the diamonds on the pyramid stack with different colorways, and a red one here, a gold one here, green, this lighter aqua color, and I just couldn't cut into it. I wasn't completely sure. I'm sure you guys have felt it that way also. I have said this before, but I really believe like the fabric dictates the projects they're used for, because some, and that might be silly to say because fabric can be used for any project, but I feel like some prints show up really great in quilts because they have those smaller designs, and some larger designs need to be showcased differently. Also the colors, but I just felt like they were all so busy that they weren't really going to be highlighted in the pyramid stack. Or maybe that was just, I don't know, I just felt hesitant, and I feel like I needed a blender, and I wasn't sure what kind of blender yet to use. And really, you could look at these, the pattern's not so big that it wouldn't show up well on my quilt pattern. I wasn't feeling it, I guess. So I held off on cutting into these because I love them so, and I don't want to have to buy another set. These are fat eighths. I don't want to buy any more. I would like to use what I have, but I definitely think I'm going to need some blenders for these, or at the very least, I'm going to have to get one of the main prints like this and add it to whatever I decide to use this for, because it just needs something. It's missing something. So instead of cutting into this collection, I ended up getting a piece of fabric that I have here in my little storage here, and I found like a rose pink, and it was just a plain rose pink, and I thought, you know, I've never actually made a two-tone quilt, and especially not with just plain solid fabrics, and I'm not really sure why I usually steer away from solids, and I think I get so drawn to the cute designs on the fabric that I end up like completely dismissing solid fabrics. It's not like I dislike them, I just get really distracted by the cute stuff. So I've always put it off because I guess I've been working more so with the drawn designs. But I decided to go ahead and do a two-tone quilt with this rosy pink and white, and I made it. I really love it. That's like an understatement. I actually just adore, and I'm really happy that I went with this two-toned quilt. So I used the pyramid stack design with these two fabrics, white and like this rose pink, and it came out really good. So this is designed for a baby-sized quilt. So it's 36 by 36. Each of the blocks in the pyramid stack are 6 inches, and then paired together, it's going to be a squared 12-inch. And so here's a little peek at that. I think it came out beautiful. I'm so happy, and I'm pretty glad that I didn't cut into the Christmas fabrics just yet, because this wouldn't have been made. and it came together even faster than my other blue chado quilt because there was even less that I had to consider as far as placement with only 2 tones. And you can see that my points came out like perfection. I'm not an expert quilter, but this makes it look pretty darn good, right? I'm really happy with it. And so I was just right before I got online here, I was just trimming the threads in the back. The threads here are super long, and it's because I haven't been using my regular Juki machine. So if you have a Juki or any sewing machine that has a thread cutter built in, then they usually keep the threads pretty short and there's not a lot of excess hanging off. But my Juki is sadly sick right now, and I need to figure that out. I've been trying to find a place where I can get it maintenanced because I think I messed it up and I'm pretty disappointed with myself, but I'm gonna have to take that in. And I haven't found a place that I trust or that's gonna give me a decent turnaround time. I was told it's gonna take about a month to a month and a half to get my machine fixed, and that's how long I would have to leave it at the maintenance repair shop, which is just like so long. I need it, and I need it faster than that. So I'm looking for a place to repair that right now, and I'm just so bummed because I was just getting into the groove. You guys saw my video. I was getting into the groove of free motion quilting with that machine, and I really want to continue, and I was hoping to just get this one done with free motion quilting. I'm not sure that's going to happen now. I may have to straight line it again, just like before. But because I wasn't using my Juki, the threads were not cut immediately. And so the machine that I was using, I had to like pull my project out and then cut the threads. So my threads are super long on the entire back of this quilt. And I normally wouldn't worry about it too much. I know some people do always trim the threads on the back of their quilt, and I hear that that's really great. I had no interest in doing it, but this one has a lot of white on it, a lot of white fabric, and you know, white sometimes doesn't hide those threads in the back. And I tried to use all light, either light pink or white thread, but I'm just like, I was kind of testing it out against the batting here, and I can tell that it's gonna show through. Even if it's white, there's gonna be like little visual streams underneath. So I'm trimming all the thread. I've never done it before. I would say it's a big time suck, but I'm hoping it's worth it. I'm hoping that the end project will just look even better because those threads will be gone. So I've been trimming today, and I already have my batting because I was testing on the batting. I already have my batting and my backing all set up here, and it's already basted. I used a spray baste, and I really like this one, the Spray and Bond adhesive basting spray, and it's a temporary bond, but I feel like it just sticks so much better than the other brands that I've tried, and it also doesn't smell as bad. The mist doesn't like stay in the air very long. So I like that a lot, and it works great. You know, it's really tacky. It's tacky enough that you don't have to use pins if you don't want to. Of course, I always add a few quilting pins because it just makes me feel a little comfortable, but with this you really don't need it. So I already basted my batting here, and I got this really nice thick batting, and I can't remember the name, but it's so thick and plush and warm. It's a white cotton. And then I've never used wool batting, and I hear that's great. It's expensive and very warm, but I'm in Arizona. I'm not sure I would ever need anything super, super thick and warm because Arizona, I mean, it gets cold a little bit. In the main Phoenix area, it gets cold a little bit, but not enough to where I need this thick wool pad in my quilt, you know. So anyway, this is the material that I have on the backing, and it's just so girly, so feminine, and it kind of picks up those rosy pinks, but it has these lighter tones also with the little mustard and rust. So I thought that was really nice, and I think I'm gonna even use it as binding because I have enough. I have enough extra to use it as binding, but I feel like this quilt might need something extra. Or now that I'm looking at it in camera, maybe not. Maybe something else. Maybe even a darker pink. Maybe this rust color, that would be nice, right? Like the rust as binding. What do you guys think? So yeah, I'm gonna figure that out. But I don't have the binding just yet. First, I'm gonna worry about quilting it, and I really don't want to straight line quilt it, but that may be my only choice right now. Or hand quilting. Do you guys ever hand quilt? I love hand quilting. If I didn't have deadlines, I would just be on the couch hand quilting all the time. It's like my favorite thing to do. I don't know if I've mentioned this, but my first quilt ever was a quilt for my daughter, and I sadly don't have it anymore. The story is just kind of frustrating. If you want to know about it, let me know and I'll like put it together in a video. But it was my first quilt. I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't follow any accounts. There's only one blog that I knew about, and it was Nana Company, and she really didn't teach how to sew. She just showed pictures, and so I learned off of looking at pictures. And I decided that I was gonna make a 9-patch type of quilt, just big squares, and that I was gonna make that. And then I saw, oh, people put borders on these, so I put a border onto my quilt, and I used all these different materials. So my first quilt wasn't all cotton. It was like there was some silk, there was some satin, there was some chiffon. I went all out in different materials. And then I decided that my first quilt, I was going to hand quilt it because I saw a YouTube video that had shared quilting. And that was the first video that popped up about quilting, was a hand quilting video. So I was like, wow, I guess I'm going to have to hand quilt it, not knowing anything about hand quilting. I struggled so hard through that quilt. I didn't have the right tools, and I didn't have any thread wax or the right needle. I felt like my needle was smaller than my thread, so I was like really having to push through it, and like my fingers were getting all coarse and they were all sore every time I would quilt. But I hand quilted that little baby quilt that was for my daughter. The binding was a mess. I'm pretty sure it started coming off like after a couple washes. And then because I use different materials that aren't meant to be in a blanket, like chiffon, it was so funny. After a few washes, some of the seams started coming undone. So there was like little gaps in between the patches. So it was a great learning experience. And anyway, I think I might be adding some hand stitching to this, not a lot, and thankfully it's small. It's a baby quilt size, but I think that would look really pretty. So I don't really have a clear deadline on this. It's just for my own fun and my own pattern. I can take as much time as I want. I don't want to take too much time, but I think some like hand stitching, like some wide hand stitching would look really nice on this more plain and modern look here, especially since everything's in solid. So what do you guys think? Should I try? You let me know. You let me know what you think. If I should try to hand quilt it, and then what color, because I always get stuck on white thread for hand quilting. I'm just like so not adventurous with my thread color whenever I'm hand quilting, but I see these projects that have beautiful and very saturated colors that they use for hand quilting, and it looks great. So not sure how adventurous I should be, and if I should even try to look for some colored, or if I should just like not have anything distracting. So tell me what you guys think about that. And that's gonna be what I'm gonna be working on all day today, getting this thread off and then basting it and beginning to quilt today. That's my goal. And then since I showed you my little paper piece, I wanted to show you guys what I have really been using to make my FPP blocks. So you guys know that I have these stitching presses. I have been making, these are for sale in my Etsy shop. I have been making stitching presses for maybe a year now. I think I started, even though I didn't share it online, I think I had started last year around July. So I make these stitching presses. They're mini ironing boards, 13 by 13. So you get a really good space for your blocks, and then it's big enough to hold a 12-inch block, which is the average for quilting. I would say it's more of the average size. So I have been using my stitching press whenever I am at my machine because I like to iron every single seam, even though it's on even though it's on the paper, because I really need that flat fabric, and then I don't like it bunching up later on whenever I'm trying to piece all the blocks together. So I iron in between each seam, and I've been using my stitching press, but I have been using it with my cover because it is just a lifesaver. So because I like to FPP sew a lot, I knew that whenever I was making these stitching presses that I would need a cover, because even with my large ironing board, I end up having to use like a thin towel or tea towel or something to iron on top of, because this printer ink sometimes will come off with the hot iron. So I have been using my stitching press and then putting this cover on top, and it works so great. It works so great. And then after I'm done sewing with all my paper, I don't have to worry about my stitching press getting dirty or having that ink stain to it, and I can easily take this off, throw it in the wash, and then use it for the next project. And it is insulated. It does have a type of heat protectant inside, and so it works great. And then I'm so used to using my stitching press. I use it every day I'm sewing, but I did need to iron out a large piece of fabric yesterday, and I forgot how spoiled I've gotten with the stitching press, because I was ironing on my large ironing board and all the heat was running through, and I was getting really frustrated because I was having to put more effort into ironing. And I was like, oh yeah, I forgot that. At first I thought, why wasn't my iron working as well? And I thought like maybe the heat setting wasn't up high enough, or I kept having to spray with water to get the creases out. And I realized it's because I'm not using my stitching press. This one works so much better than my traditional ironing board, because I just get all that heat sent back up to the fabric. So this is what, like, my best friend with FPP sewing, and I have been using it for every project. But this cover works great. I don't have to stain my stitching press, and it just goes right into the wash right after. So that's awesome. And let me see. I think that's all I'm going to talk about today, because I don't want this video to go on too long. But if you have any questions, let me know in the comments. If you have any questions about my pattern, about FPP sewing, I feel like I have really perfected my technique with it, and I do plan to have a video up on how I FPP and get those really crisp lines, and then get it in the right spot so that I'm not having to tear out the seams and replace my pieces. So if you're interested in that, let me know in the comments. Let me know what you think I should do as far as quilting with this, since my machine is acting a bit stubborn. I'm gonna have to go get that fixed. But I feel like a little hand quilting is really necessary with this more plain two-tone quilt. So let me know what you think. And then definitely go check out my blog. It has the room updates and then little things that I've been finding at great deals. If you haven't seen, we find things like dirt cheap that are working so great for organizing this room, as well as these shelves. I got 3 of these shelves for $15. That's how cheap it was. So, really good deals and ideas on my blog. Go check that out. It's linenbouquet.wordpress.com. And I will see you guys next week for a chat. Bring any questions you have or topics you want to talk about, because this is just really casual chat about sewing with other people that will actually get excited about it. Because if you're like me, you talk about sewing and quilting with people that don't sew, and they just look at you like a deer in the headlights. Just they have no clue what I'm talking about, and they're not excited about fabric like another quilter would be. So I'm really enjoying these chats with you guys. I will be here on Tuesday afternoons. Officially, this is the time that I'm setting on. It's just working better for my schedule, and I can make sure that I'll be here every week with a Tuesday schedule. And I will see you guys here next Tuesday around the same time. I am 3 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And so follow my account so that you don't miss any announcements or alerts. And then I will see you later. All right, bye guys.